Hi, I hope you're sitting down as a result of getting a letter from me, and I'm even hoping that you've gone and bought yourself a nice cup of coffee as you watch this video. Basically, I'm a retired business person. I'm also a retired CPA accountant, and I really want to, if you like, in some way give back to the small business profession, which I've made a great living out of. The video that you will see today will explain a bit about my journey. I'm an accountant with a different twist. I focus on the revenue in a small business, and I really focus on making sure that business owners do not leave any money at all on the table. Because you've worked too hard, you've risked too much to do that. And what I'm really looking forward to is meeting you in person and sitting down with you and discussing how we can work together to really fix up any leaks of revenue in your business and structure with some really great new internet applications and grow your business for the future. I started in business doing the normal corporate stuff as you do as a young guy, and you come out of university and get your job, and I was a debtors clerk, which was really interesting. I had to go and collect money from truckies, which was really interesting. Once I had to go and repossess a Mack truck from a 60-year-old guy who'd been in the business for 40 years, and I'm only out there at 20, and that was a really interesting experience for me. But that's when I started learning about the trials and tribulations of small business people. I then moved from there into various jobs. I worked for an ambulance service, was the accountant there. Then I moved in looking after the insurance, which was really interesting because that's where I got involved on the revenue side, the marketing side, if you like, and that was the big fork in the road for me. I went away from focusing on the debit side of the ledger to the credit side, and I've been there ever since. Not to say that you don't have to look at the debit side, you do, but increasing revenue is the quickest way for businesses to get out of problems and to grow where you want to go and give you the lifestyle that you went into it for. I worked with them for a while, then I made a few other little sojourns into the corporate world, and then I ended up working for an advertising agency, which is really interesting, where I was involved in controlling all their direct marketing, which basically meant my job was to go into these large businesses, look at how they had structured their customer databases and set up a matrix to make sure that they were getting maximum value out of them. And that was really interesting because, you know, you might think that a lot of these large organisations had sophisticated databases and were able to manipulate information in any which way they could. You couldn't be further from the truth. It was really basic stuff. So as basic as you think you might be at the moment, you're not that far different than some of the large corporations still today, even 10 years after or 20 years after I did that. The big difference and why I'm back in this game is that the technology that is now available through the internet and with applications that are in the cloud for, you know, even the debit side of accounting, the cash book side, and also on the revenue side. And if I could just stay on the revenue side for a moment, there's only three ways you can make sales. You get new customers, you get your existing customers to buy more, you get your existing customers to buy more and more often. They're the three ways. Now, two out of those three ways is dealing with your existing customers. Unfortunately, about 95% of the effort is spent in getting new customers in. And that's where I'm talking about don't leave anything on the table. You work so hard to get people to come to your business. You work so hard in providing them a product or a service, and you work so hard in building a great trust between you and your customer. You've got to learn to you've got to make sure that you are maximising that. Now, I'm not saying you're not, but my history is that there's a lot of money left on the table in most businesses, and that's really what I'm about, is to making sure that doesn't. Now, also, to enable you to do that, you've got to do communication with the customers on a sort of on a continual basis, which is really time consuming. You haven't got time to do it, and it's a real, a pain. However, with the new programs that are available for you, there is software out on the net there where you can load the basic information in, and you can sit down and strategize a communication program for 12 months, 24 months ahead and do it, and then have that automated, and then have the ability to manually put another one in here and there whenever you want to. It's not difficult to do anymore. It's there. It's all in the cloud. And that's going to help you, because it's a bit like a drip, drip, drip of water in a bucket. All these things are going to eventually start to add up and get some momentum, and the water's going to flow out of the bucket. And you can do this stuff now. The applications on the computer allows you to do the stuff that you didn't have the expertise. It would have cost you thousands of dollars to implement it in the past, and was going to take you way too long. That's no longer a barrier. You have the same ability as an Amazon, or a Nike or anybody now. The technology out there has been just brilliant for small business, and that's really what I want to do with you when I sit down and go through with your revenue audits. I want to really delve into, are you maximising your own customer database? Are you maximising the technology that's available to you now at a fraction of the cost of what it would have cost you 10, 20 years ago? Let's have a look at that, and let's make sure that we can set a plan in place where you stop leaving money on the table, and you're setting your business up for that day, even when that you decide to sell it. If someone comes in and want to buy your business, and they see that you have a structured business where you are doing 2 out of the 3, you're doing 3 out of the 3 ways of making sales, and you're maximising the other 2, you're in a much better position to be able to ask for what you want for your business, and basically maximise your goodwill. How effective can database marketing be? It's probably the most effective, cost-efficient marketing you'll ever do, and it's really a must to have in your arsenal, even if you can't, organise it on a sort of a structured basis, which what you should aim to. And I say that because, there are times when you need cash flow injection in a small business, whether it's a tax bill or something else. And if you've got your handle on your database, you can extract money very quickly, which can help you out of a tight spot rather than go and seeing the banker. I can give you a couple of examples which are from different fields. I'll give you an example of an insurance company that did both home and contents and also motor vehicle insurance. And what we were asked to do is come in and give some ideas on, this is when I was working with the advertising company, is to come in and give some views on what we could do for the home insurance group. And what we came up with was a program and say, look, let's go out to them and offer an incentive. I think it was one of those little slim calculators from memory. If they would let us know when their motor vehicle insurance was due, and and therefore we did that. We did the mailer. The mailer was with the calculator incentive on it, did well, and I think it was a massive response. I think it came up to around about 15%. It was really, really excellent. And then we did a phone follow-up to it, and I think we got it up to about 70% of people giving us the, when their motor vehicle was up. And then the insurance company then went out when those policies were due and pitched for those vehicles, and they tell me they did quite well. And I'm not sure what quite well means, but we weren't allowed to do that. But it just shows you that money was left on the table there. That's another illustration. That money before, it's just been sitting in their customer database, and we help them extract it out. And of course, the benefit then is if the old saying, if people have got their car with you and they've got the house with you and et cetera, they're going to be less likely to go somewhere else. So it's a good thing for our customer loyalty. Another one which is completely different was a solar company. Had thousands of solar hot water systems out there, and they had a yearly maintenance thing that really wasn't going that well. They used to send these very ordinary postcards out, almost black and white, and say, hey, you should be getting your annual maintenance done. And the return from that was appalling on the mailer. It was about 1% to 2%. So we said, well, give us your last batch that you mailed out, and we'll get the phone numbers and we'll ring them up and see how we go. Cut a long story short, there were 2 great lessons out of this one. One, we got that 2% up to close, just over 65 to 70%, I think it was. People saying, yep, come and do my maintenance. Now, when we did that, I think the charge was $59, $60. And we put our bill in, and the guy said, "Whoa, this is not going to work." And we said, "What do you mean?" He said, "There's not enough money in it." I said, "Well, you're not charging enough." Anyway, that charge went from the 69, I think it was, up to around 135. And the interesting thing about that, it didn't have any discernible difference in the response. So clearly in that one, there's two things. Don't ever underestimate the power of a phone call, following up a mailer, to a database, to people that you have a relationship with, and test your price points. Now, if you want to talk about telephone calls, I'm sure many of you watching us have had your call from your dentist reminding you that you've got to come in. I think they were the first businesses ever really get onto that. There'd be very few of us that haven't had a call from the dentist saying, "Hey, it's time to come in and do a checkup." Why do they do that? Because if we left just to come in and do it, we don't do it. And that's the mindset you've got to get with your customers. You've got to keep in front of them in lots of different ways, because if you're not, somebody else is. And doesn't, so you've got to really extract maximum value out of all that effort you've put in to get them to come to see you in the first place. Another example on database was the mature age ladies dress shop. Now, this was an interesting one. We was in the centre of the city. We talked to the owner. He said ladies like to come in and have a shop, and come to their dress shop. So we arranged a campaign where we first put on a prize for people to put their name and address into, drawn once a month, and it was, I think it was a $150 voucher at the shop for the lady. We ended up quickly getting up to 2,500 names, so we thought, well, we'll test it. And we went and saw a cafe chain owner and said, "Look, we're doing this promotion. What about giving these people a free cup of coffee if they come in while they're shopping, and you can sell them all other sorts of stuff?" And I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea." Well, the response to that mail was unbelievable. We didn't do a phone follow-up to that one because the owner didn't want to do that, which is fine. And I think we got around about a 26% response to the mail. It was massive. That's a lot of people. And of course, what happened about 2 days after it all started, I get a frantic phone call from the owner. The lady said to me, "What is going on? I've got all these ladies in my shop." And I said, "Well, what's the problem? They're spending money, they're buying stuff." So we can't handle it. Can you control it a bit more? And which was a good point. We probably should have tested on a smaller amount rather than 2.5. But that guy ended up, I think his database ended up being somewhere around about the 20,000. So, you can just do the numbers on that. That's the value of database. And ever since then, and I think he's still doing it, they send out a catalogue to the ladies 3 times or 4 times a year and get them to come in with all sorts of stuff. It's still working. There's no limit to the creativity that you can apply with your database. You need to start setting up. I know it's a pain. I know people say, "Well, I haven't got time," but you really have to, because you've got to remember the water dripping into the bucket. If you just do these little things, it will fill up. It will fill up. And why you should be really excited now is that you've got the internet to help you do this. The thing you should be doing now is getting an email address of every customer you can, because then it's not so difficult to set up a very well-structured well-structured campaign around emails going out to your people that, in an automatic process, and also allowing you to do the occasional manual one when you want to sort of make a particular point on whatever it is you're doing. And what that does is it gets people used to you. It gets them comfortable with you. And if you're giving them good content, good value, they won't mind it. And when it comes to eventually, whenever you should decide to sell your business, having a very well-structured, well-used, interactive customer database is going to add more goodwill to your business than any other one thing. And if you can show them that you've got all this done, you can show them how much these customers are making you, what your lifetime value of your customer is. It's just amazingly powerful stuff. You can do that now. And they're the sort of things that I really want to sit down and discuss with you. The other area that has really come through, and that was at a big result, a big impact on me when we did the small business entrepreneurial course at a university, and we were mentoring the participants there. We were given a few people to mentor, and that we did that for a couple of years. The big thing that came out of that, these are successful business owners. And they didn't want to necessarily talk about the content of the course, which was excellent. And it wasn't a cheap course. It was about $10,000 or $12,000 for 6 months. So that's a reasonable investment. They wanted to talk about things that were worrying them. And a lot of them really, when you got to talk to them, didn't have any what you call really good recovery strategies about how they can recharge their batteries. You know, every now and again they'd get off with their partners or their families and go for a holiday here or there, whatever. But it's unlike you see in the elite sporting areas today, where recovery is everything. It's almost as important as preparation. As soon as the contest is finished, they're onto it. You know, with injecting fluids or whatever else, and, you know, ice baths or what the hell, getting these people back into prime condition and rested so they can go out and fight again. Now, that doesn't happen in small business. You just go and go and go, and what happens is after a while, the weight of everything starts to weigh you down. And so then emotional things come in, you get stressed and all this sort of stuff. Now, I know some of you will probably be really fit and doing everything right, but I know a lot of you probably aren't. And you really got to understand how important it is to get this side of your business under control. And the other thing is the psychological stress of being in business is because I like to say, you know, once you're in a business owner, you're supposed to have the answer to everything. You know, no matter what comes up, you're the owner, your buck stops with you, you've got to have all the answers, which is highly unrealistic. You know, I'll use the sporting case again. I mean, the head coach, he has all sorts of people helping him out, get the team to where they want it to be. A small business, it's a lonely job sometimes, and you need to recognise that, but you can sit down and you can talk to people. And I think that came out of that session we had with the university. We see a couple of those people, even to this day, that's about 8 or so years after we stopped doing it, who often come and have a coffee with us and just talk. So I just want to sort of highlight that side of being in business. It's stressful, it can be invigorating, exciting, all that sort of thing, but also, you know, it can be lonely. It can be lonely because you may not want to take it home. You really don't want to be discuss it too much with your staff. You know, you might have some colleagues that you might be able to sort of download with, but, you know, there are ways and means that you can sort of give yourself some really good validation and set up some structures to ensure that your, if you like, psychological well-being is well looked after. In the area of recovery, we work with a dynamic young professional who has had extensive experience with elite sports people, business people, and military personnel in this area of recovery, in this area of personal stress. And we see great correlations between what he's doing and what's needed in small business. And we can sit down and talk about that. Would love to. You probably worked out that I'm very passionate about small business, and I really want to sit down with you and see if we can get passion together to work out how we can help your business just maximise and not lose stuff that you shouldn't be losing, and also help you frame yourself up for the future, which is coming and coming quick regarding digital. That's really what I'd like to do, is sit down and spend some time with you on that and do a revenue audit with you. I believe it will be to your benefit, and I look forward to that moment.